Hello and welcome to the Ending Body Burnout Show. We are your hosts, Chris and Philly, co-founders of a multi-award-winning functional medicine practice, serving busy people with energy, mood, and gut issues.
While busyness, addictive doing, people-pleasing, and perfectionism might be the norm, it's not normal, and it's a major contributor to health issues.
Our goal with this show is to give you a holistic root cause approach to healing your body so that you don't have to continue doctor or diet hopping or popping a gazillion supplements hoping something might stick.
So get ready to heal your body, get your spark back, deeply connect with yourself, and step into the life of your dreams.
Let's dive in.
Hello, welcome to the podcast. Today we have got a beautiful podcast all around how to be happy even when things feel tough. Even when you're dealing with or struggling with chronic health issues, even when you're people pleasing, overdoing, feeling overwhelmed, and life isn't going your way. So, to dive into this topic, we have invited on the happiness guy, also known as Declan Edwards, to dive into how to retrain the brain to create more happiness and the strong link between healing body burnout and cultivating more happiness. Because the very interesting thing that we uncovered as we were having a conversation with Declan was at the root and the foundation of healing body burnout is essentially rebuilding a beautiful, strong, loving, trusting relationship with self. And based on his personal experience working with many students in his happiness college and the bucket loads of research he has done as he has been studying a PhD, is that the foundation of cultivating, creating more happiness is also having a beautiful relationship with self. So we talk about that plus lots more today. I know that you are going to love this episode and it's going to leave you a little bit more happier. So a little bit about Declan Edwards, the official stuff. He is the founder of BU Happiness College and a researcher dedicated to the no-fluff science of feeling and living our best. Whether he's presenting at the United Nations, speaking for the Red Cross, or guest lecturing at Bond University, Declan's message is clear. Happiness is an evidence-based skill set, not a stroke of luck. He has helped thousands of students increase their happiness by an average of 57% by focusing on the science and skill sets that uphold human flourishing. He's here today to move us past the surface level fads and into the actual habits that build a great life. Let's dive in.
G'day guys and welcome to this episode of the Ending Body Burnout Show. Philly and I have a guest on today. We've got Declan. Hey Declan, how you going?
I am well. I'm excited for this one. It's going to be great.
Awesome.
Yay. So you have been known or are known as the happiness guy. And I can just see it in your face too. A big smile. You look happy.
Thank you.
You can tell when people are like forcing happiness and when they are actually happy. So I'm curious how you got into specializing in happiness. Was it connected to your own, I guess, like burnout experience or an experience where you weren't feeling happy that then led you to dive into how do I create more happiness in myself?
Yeah, a little bit more column B for me. I don't know if I'd necessarily call it burnout that led me to research and study the science of happiness. I think it was more I spent a lot of formative years of my life remarkably unhappy and also not knowing what happiness was by my own terms and definition. So I was the kid who was really good at chasing other people's idea of a happy and successful life. I was relatively high performing in academics. For a little bit there, I was relatively high performing in sports. And I was really good at kind of going, I'll be happy when I excel at this thing in my life. And then I'd excel at it or do relatively well and go, I feel like I don't know, maybe I've drawn a bad deal here because I did what I thought was going to bring me happiness and I don't feel any happier. And thankfully, I was introduced to some great mentors and coaches at the time. And it just seemed like they had this language and this toolkit for understanding happiness, not as something that we pursue, not as this fleeting feeling, but as a skill that we can actually cultivate and develop. And I remember saying to one of them, why does it feel like you've got this whole toolkit on living a better life that I've just never been exposed to? And he said to me, oh, well, there's a field of research called positive psychology that's dedicated itself to studying human flourishing and happiness and well-being as a scientific pursuit and really understanding what makes life worth living and how do we fulfill our potential. And I've been learning from that. And I went, that sounds like a cheat code for a better life. And how do I get in? And very thankfully had previously done a bachelor's degree in health science and health studies. So I was able to then leverage that and go into a postgraduate study in happiness, which then, as you mentioned at the start, over the long term, geez, more than 10 years later now, quite a while now, led to me showing up to like networking events and parties, and people were like, wait, I think I know you. Aren't you that happiness guy? Like you talk about happiness online and happiness is your whole jam and thing. And I remember saying to one of my friends, I was like, no one remembers my name, but they remember me as that happiness guy. And he goes, mate, you might just need to lead into that. And so for the last few years, I guess there's worse things to be known as, but I've been referred to as that happiness guy, and I've dedicated my life's work and research to not only understanding happiness as a scientific pursuit and skill set for myself, but teaching that and sharing that and educating others on that to hopefully play my part in making the world as a whole just a little bit happier.
I love that. Personally, what did it look like for you before and after? So when you said you found yourself and you actually weren't that happy, even though you were succeeding and ticking goals off, what did that look like, I guess, in terms of mentally, emotionally, physically in your life? And then what did it look like on the other side?
Beforehand, it felt like I was always chasing the next high. Right, which from a happiness science viewpoint, I now know as a lot of my approach to happiness was previously built on dopamine and endorphins and built on very quick, fleeting forms of happiness. It was built on success and accomplishment and achievement. And don't get me wrong, those are still important in my life. But previously, it was all built around that. So I would have this fleeting experience of happiness or joy or excitement or pleasure or pride or accomplishment. And I'd have this big crash. And in the crash, I would find myself not feeling very good, going through bouts of, depressive symptoms, going through bouts of anxiousness and anxiety, having quite a loud inner critic and a loud, internal voice of judgment. And then I would do everything I could to avoid those feelings. I used to fall into the toxic positivity trap of to live a happy life means not feeling these things. And now I adamantly don't believe that at all. I think that's dangerous. But I got really good at repression and distraction and avoidance. And sometimes that would be through food. I had a really tough relationship with food for quite a few years, and body dysmorphia and disordered eating. Sometimes it would be through, scrolling and mindless activities. It was just a way to go, I don't like feeling this way. I want to avoid it. And I'm sure and hopefully your listeners know as well, that works for a short term. And then it really bites you in the butt later. Yeah. and it started biting me in the butt. I found I was feeling really lethargic and flat in life. I wasn't thinking clearly. And above all else, I felt really disconnected from myself. And I remember saying to one of my early coaches and mentors who introduced me to positive psychology, he said, what do you want at the moment? I said, well, to be honest, I'd like to be a bit kinder to myself. I would like to be a bit more confident in myself. I'd like to trust myself more. I'd like to actually like who I am and like the body that I'm in. And he went, okay, cool. So it's like, self-trust, self-care, self-connection, self-worth. Are these all making sense? And I went, yes, all of those. I want 10 scoops of every single one. He goes, well, mate, they all start with self. Tell me about yourself. And I went, I can't. Like, I don't know how to answer. I don't know what happiness is to me. I don't know what my values are. I don't know what my strengths are. I don't know really who I am, not outside of the roles I play for others. I know who I am as in like, I'm Declan a son, I'm Declan a partner, but who am I for me? And now on the other side of that, I've spent a lot of time getting to know myself and looking inwards rather than repressing and avoiding those thoughts and feelings. And thankfully, having the language and the frameworks and the tools and guidance to do that healthily and effectively. And over the years, it's led to me having a really good quality relationship with myself. Right? It's very hard to have trust in a stranger or worth in someone you don't know yet. But over the years of getting to know myself, knowing who I am, I'm like, oh no, I have a really nice relationship with me now. And that allows me to then feel a lot better even when life is not going to plan, right? I'm not here to tell anyone listening to this that as a happiness researcher, and some people refer to me as a happiness expert, that I'm happy every second of every day. I always say to people like, happiness is not always my primary feeling, but an element of happiness is always present, right? Even in really stressful times, I can normally find a little lens of hope. In really challenging times, I can find an element of pride. In grief, in times of loss, I can find an element of love and connection. Like happiness, I believe, is always there, but it may not be always the main feeling. And that's been a beautiful thing for me to come to terms with and experience on the other side of spending close to a decade now studying this.
Yeah, all emotions fit. They're all welcome.
I actually really resonate, Declan, with what you said about if I do this, if I have that, then I'll be happy. It was chasing the it's like the grass is greener on the other side kind of thing. If I can go there. One of my favorite books is by Dr. Seuss, Oh, the Places You'll Go, and there's this place that he talks about in the book called the waiting place, and he calls it the most useless place. People are waiting for a plane to come or blah, 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 blah. And I've always thought about because I've used those words that you used before. And when I read Dr. Seuss, I'm like, oh man, that's it. I at that point I was waiting to do the thing, or waiting to have the accolades, or waiting to win, or blah 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 blah. And then once that bus comes, once that thing happens, then I'm enough. Then I'm okay. Then I'm good enough. And then I'll be happy. But I found a different way of going about it, and I think that relationship with self is an important thing. I'm so glad you talked about relationship with self as a what's the word? You had to have that before you could be happy. It was more about how you were, your relationship with yourself. I think that's just such an amazing insight and so critical.
Yeah, we see that.
And for better or worse, so to jump in straight away, but like for better or worse, we are stuck with ourselves for the rest of our life, right? So like our relationship with ourselves, I would argue, is the most important relationship that we have, because you better get used to living in your mind. Because unless you're really, really good at, repression and distraction and avoidance, what's the saying is like an unexamined life is not worth living, right? If people are not introspecting and not looking inwards at their thoughts and feelings, I would argue that that's a life not worth living, as the ancient Stoics did. I would also argue that if all we're doing is examining, are we actually living? Like, I think there's an element of introspect, look inwards, but also, to your point, don't just wait around, take action, right? Like, actually go, hey, I know enough about myself, and I've done enough work and continue to do enough work on my relationship with self to then do something with that and do something meaningful with it. Be that meaning that I can be a much more intentional and present parent, or I can be a much more impactful leader, or I can be a much greater contributor to others. I think sometimes there's a little trap there of, I don't know, people think personal development just has to be personal, when the best research in the world shows that one of the greatest contributors to happiness and long-term well-being is our connection to others and our impact to others. So I'm like, yes, do the work, get to know yourself, but please, by God, don't just keep it to yourself, right? Go and share that with others and connect to others.
Yeah, I was going to draw a thread too with the relationship with self. So in our practice, like at the root, people get burnt out and have chronic health issues because they break rapport with themselves. They lose connection with themselves. And so it's just very interesting that in order to physically and mentally, emotionally heal, that relationship has to be reestablished. And what I'm hearing from you too is it's like, well, that also has to set the foundation for building and creating more happiness inside of you and in your life and sharing it with others. Yeah,
that's spot on. Like there's my favorite piece of research, if I might just share that here.
Love research.
Over the last, my favorite piece from the last 10 years, I think, specifically around happiness is there was some studies coming out of, I forget which country it was one of the Scandinavian countries. I want to say Denmark, because I know they've got a big happiness lab over in Copenhagen. It may have been Finland though. Anyway, they found that they could measure the happiness ripple effect, the impact of someone being more intentional about their own self-care, their own well-being, their own happiness, basically being more intentional about gaining the skills and tools and support to show up more consistently as a better version of themselves. They could measure the impact of that person up to 3 degrees of separation.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah,
So
right.
like that person making a choice to look after their well-being, their happiness, to learn their body, their health, to show up more consistently as a better version of them, meant that their child's teacher's husband had a measurable change to their happiness. This person might never even meet their child's teacher's husband. Right. And I think that excites me. It energizes me because there's this sense of, I've dedicated my life's work to this pretty ambitious goal of making the world as a whole a bit happier in my lifetime. If I think about doing that directly on my own, I have no idea how I'm going to do that. But the ripple effect of that work, of people showing up more wholeheartedly and more equipped with the skills of happiness, of being able to bring a better version of themselves to their parenting, their partners, their communities, their families, their clients. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning. I'm like, that's how we make the world better.
I love that. So anyone who identifies with people pleasing, rescuing, self-sacrificing, you're actually making people less happy by self-sacrificing yourself.
It's unsustainable, right? Like eventually,
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys do this too. I've seen so often. We have a lot of people come through the college who historically have wrestled with people pleasing or undervaluing themselves, maybe feeling some guilt or shame about prioritizing themselves. For some people, coming to the college is the first investment they've made into themselves in a long time. It's so exciting seeing the point where they go, oh, this, like the greatest gift that I get to give my loved ones is a happy parent, is a happy partner, is like a happy, fulfilled version of me. What a beautiful thing for them to give to their loved ones in the world. Like I became a dad last year. And I am so proud of the work I've done over the last 10 years that my son will only ever get to know me as a very true and authentic version of me. Right? And that he will get to know me as the best version of myself. That's not saying that I'm always acting as the best version of myself. I still definitely have moments where I wrestle with my thoughts and feelings. But over the years, I've gotten a little bit better at taking ownership and responsibility for that and having a toolkit to help me get back on track quicker. Right?
Yeah.
What a beautiful gift that my son will get to be raised knowing a happy, fulfilled version of his father. That's not, so
It'll
putting
change
myself-
generations.
Yeah, putting myself
Yeah.
as a high priority over the years and learning that is the least selfish thing that I could have done. Right? What a gift.
Yeah. So what do most people get wrong about happiness?
I think there's 2 things. One is it's very common to get on, we call it in the research, the hedonic treadmill. It's the I'll be happy when trap. So I'll be happy when insert whatever the hell you want afterwards, right? I'll be happy when I have the pay rise, the new relationship, when I get out of the relationship because I don't like it anymore. I'll be happy when I have kids. I'll be happy when the kids finally move out, right? Like we tend to have this to the point where I was born in the US, but I've got a very good Australian accent. I've been here for a long time. It baffles me that the founding fathers of the US enshrined in, it was either the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution, I'm forgetting at the moment, but it is an inalienable human right for the pursuit of happiness. Like you're allowed to pursue happiness. We didn't say anything about a right of you being allowed to experience it or realize it. It's like, no, you're allowed to always be chasing it, was basically what was enshrined, right? The pursuit of happiness. And like, at some point, we've got to stop pursuing it. We've got to learn how to cultivate it and nurture it and strengthen it here and now. And so I think that's, to this day, I still have moments I'm like, that's the happiness trap. That's the hedonic treadmill. I'm getting stuck in that. I'll be happy when the business is doing this, or when this happens in my life, or when we're through the first 6 months of having a newborn because we're not sleeping much. You know what I mean? Like it's so easy. The brain likes to chase.
Yeah.
And so that practice of coming back and going, how do I cultivate happiness here and now is really important.
I like that.
The other one I'll quickly mention, which is a common mistake, is I think people mistakenly think of happiness only in fleeting forms. So very commonly people will say to me, why dedicate your life's work to happiness when it's such a fleeting feeling? And I'm like, au contraire, my friends. There are forms of happiness that are fleeting. Joy, excitement, enthusiasm, pleasure, very quick, right? But there are forms of happiness that I kind of describe it like low GI, high GI foods. Like you can get a sugar rush happiness, or
Yeah.
you can get a low steady release of happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And the low steady release of happiness is things like contentment, meaning, purpose, contribution, connection, right? Authenticity, like feeling deeply proud in who you are. Those are still forms of happiness. So when someone says to me, don't focus on happiness, focus on contentment, I'm like, you're basically saying don't eat chocolate, only eat Cadbury. Well, Cadbury's a form of chocolate. It's just a brand for it, right? So like from a happiness research perspective, there's a whole range of emotions that sit underneath this emotional umbrella term that we call happiness. So when I say happiness, yes, I mean joy and pleasure and enthusiasm, but I also mean happiness in the form of contentment and connection and pride and contribution.
Peace. Yeah.
Stillness, peace, right? They all sit underneath that happiness umbrella term. And much like a balanced diet has a blend of all different things, I think a balanced and blended approach to happiness requires us to learn how to notice and savor and strengthen all those different expressions of happiness.
I like it.
Yeah. As you were talking, I'm thinking about the good old feel wheel where it has like the 5 core emotions or the caveman emotions. And I'm pretty sure happiness is one of them. But then it's like there's a whole spectrum of how you can experience this emotion.
It's a very common tool we use at the college to help people expand their emotional awareness and literacy. The feelings were like Gloria Wilcox, I think, was the first one in the 80s.
Yeah. So it sounds like part of the work of cultivating more happiness, do we even call it work? The play of cultivating more happiness is changing one's perception or story of what happiness is. Because if someone believes that happiness, like top of mind, my brain goes to when I'm like, yeah, I'm so happy. Like
It's like the yellow smiley face emoji.
And if I was to even nuance that, that's kind of like excitement or maybe joy, but not even joy. Happiness is like, yay. Whereas I could even see how there would be blend of, there's no negative emotion, but even blends of grief could have happiness in it as well. And frustration could have happiness, and confusion could have happiness.
True. I'm such a believer now, and there's a saying that if we hope to live a fulfilling life, we must expect that we will experience the full range of human emotion. Right? Living a full, rich life means that all these different feelings are going to come up. And if we're able to meet our feelings, be it, I try not to use the term like positive or negative emotions. I try to lean more into like enjoyable and challenging. I think as a society, we tend to find more emotions a bit more enjoyable. Other emotions a bit more challenging to deal with. But if we can find a way to meet those more challenging ones with emotional intelligence, with emotional awareness and literacy, with curiosity rather than judgment, like one of the most common things that happens there is the emotional snowball effect, which is, okay, I've told myself I'm going to be a happy, positive person, but I'm actually feeling quite anxious today. And I don't like the fact that I'm anxious. Well, if I judge the fact that I'm anxious, all of a sudden I'm now frustrated that I'm anxious. And if the frustration continues, well, now I'm stressed about how frustrated I am, about how anxious I am. Now, eventually I'm overwhelmed by how stressed about how frustrated about how anxious I am. If we just
And now
met the
there's
anxiety
shame
and
and I hate myself.
right?
I'm
yeah. Like,
broken.
now I'm a bad person, right? And you're like, if you just met the anxiety with like, hey, I'm noticing some feelings of anxiety today in myself, right? The spaciousness there, right? Not I am anxious today, because I'm not. As a human being, I am not anxiety, right? As a human being, I'm feeling happiness. I'm experiencing happiness. I'm noticing it. I'm feeling, noticing, experiencing anxiety or anxiousness. And then being able to go, what might that be trying to tell me? Like, why is that coming up? What's the positive intent behind it? And just being able to work with it a little bit more compassionately. So much healthier.
Yeah.
I like that. I often think about what's the word? Political correctness and an aversion to hurting people's feelings and cotton wool bubble wrap type stuff going on. You know, like I don't think it's nice to go out of one's way and bully and belittle and hurt and harm and this sort of thing. But wrapping ourselves up in cotton wool and being averse to having hard experiences in life. I I see that as a fear of really living and experiencing the range of spectrum of human emotion and life experience, right? So how does fear, aversion, running away, compulsively avoiding things because it's hard or it's challenging, how does that fit into to happiness in the research and in your experience?
It fits in well. I'll say a couple of things on this. The first thing I'll say is that as someone who has spent over a decade now and is just starting another 8 years of research for my PhD work in this area, so it's going to come close to 2 decades by the time I finish my PhD of studying happiness as a science and a skill set, I can promise you with no hesitation that your brain does not give a fuck if you're happy. Right? Like it doesn't care. That's not its job. That's not its priority. That's not what it's wired for. Our brain is really, really good at trying to keep us alive. And so naturally, we all have a little thing called the negative cognitive bias, which is basically if 10 things go well in a day and 2 things went wrong, which ones are you thinking about when you lie in bed at night? Probably the 2 that went wrong. Right. And so fear and avoidance and anger and that fight or flight stress response, we are all the great success story of generations upon generations of worst case scenario thinkers. Bless their cotton socks. The downside of that is there's a lot in our life these days that hijacks that system and taps into it. The fact that our brain responds with the same fight and flight response to an email that we got that's not worded all that nicely as it would to fighting a bear is probably not conducive to well-being and happiness. Yeah. Thankfully, we can retrain the brain, we can rewire it, but that does take work. It takes effort, it takes practice, it takes time. And so what I find very useful is when I find myself or someone else responding out of fear or anger or judgment, I try to meet myself or the other person with compassion and just go, oh, their brain's doing brain things. Their brain's doing what the brain's meant to do. It's not currently prioritizing happiness. It's not currently prioritizing well-being. And that's okay, right? For myself or for them. What are we going to do about it? And that's where I then try to... I've just found over the years that my life is better when I adamantly believe that the vast majority of people in the world are good and are trying to do the best they can with what they have. It's just sometimes they've got really shitty toolkits and shitty strategies. I think people mean well and want to do well. They just sometimes don't have... I don't recognize it is a privilege. I took a retreat of members to Africa in 2018, and I was trying to explain to our tour guide, who's a Masai Mara warrior, who doesn't even have a bank account. He stores his wealth in cows. So I know he was apparently quite wealthy. People kept commenting on how many cows he had. He'd apparently done quite well for himself. Completely different way of life. And I tried to explain to him for about 2 weeks what I do for a living. I was like, I research happiness. I guest lecture on it. I coach. I teach people about happiness and how to live a happy life. And by the end of the 2 weeks, he turned to me and said, Declan, it sounds like a very privileged problem to solve. And I went, you know what, Ollie? It is. It is. And my hope is that around the world, we're able to get to a space where more people are not worried about survival needs, where more people do have the privilege of learning better tools and resources and skills to live a happy life. Because the fact is, the vast majority of people, I would argue, don't live a very happy and fulfilling life. They survive, they get by, and at the end, and we know this because, you know, Bronnie Ware, who was an Australian palliative nurse who studied what people regret on their deathbed, one of the most common regrets people had was, I regret living a life that was not true to myself, but was the life others expected of me. And one of the other most common regrets people had was, I wish that I'd let myself be happier. I was saying again, for people listening, 2 of the most common 5 regrets that people have on their deathbed is, I didn't live a life true to me and I wasn't happy. What the fuck's the point of life if we're not doing that? Right? So I want to recognize, we need to solve this. It is a privileged problem to solve. My hope is that we're able to help people have more access. That's why I do this work. It's why I put so much out for free. Right? I'm like, I want people to, no matter where they are in the world, no matter what's going on, to be able to access this research and these tools and hopefully become a little bit more intentional with their happiness as a result.
The African guide, was it, or Masai?
Yeah, our guide. He was Masai Mara warrior. Great guy. Highly recommend him.
I'm curious because I've been in I stayed in Kenya for about 4 months in a tiny
We were
little
in Kenya, yeah.
yeah. I'm curious his response. Was it because he was happy and it was kind of like the people that he was around were genuinely happy with what they had in their life, or was it kind of like, how do you make money from teaching people how to be happy?
Yeah, I think it was more through
Just
the
the
lens of like,
concept.
yeah, I think it was more through the lens of Maslow's hierarchy, right? Which was like, we spend
Yeah.
hours of our day just dedicated to getting fresh water. Like, we don't have the time to sit around and think about whether we're happy or not. Right. And so we see this as a society, as countries are able to move out of basic physical survival needs, they move more into those esteem needs, community needs. And I think a lot of the Western world and wealthier countries are starting to wrestle with this. People are feeling disconnected from each other and themselves. And so whilst our physical needs and survival needs are largely taken care of, there's this gap where we haven't structured society or given people the tools and resources and language to be able to then go, okay, how do I form great connection with others and community? How do I form good connection to myself and good self-esteem? Self-actualization, how do I fulfill my potential? And then past self-actualization, which a lot of people don't talk about, past Maslow's hierarchy is meant to be then self-transcendence, which is how do I then transcend myself and give back to others in a way that's sustainable, and leave my mark in a positive way.
Yeah. So it's almost like, I think that circles back to the hustle culture of like, oh, okay, well, our basic needs are met. Like food is on the table, so I'm going to chase after success and achievement, and then I'm going to be happy, whereas they're actually missing the self-connection and self-actualization and contribution.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Okay, how do we rewire? So if we were talking more about actually cultivating happiness, what are some skill sets, techniques? How do we rewire the brain to actually start looking for, creating, amplifying more happiness?
Yeah, the same way we learn any other skill. This is the thing I want to be clear on. I think sometimes people make the mistake of going technical and tangible skills. For example, learning to play an instrument. I've got some guitars behind me, right? If someone went, I want to learn to play the guitar, I don't know many people who would start that and expect themselves to be good at playing the guitar immediately. Like, there's almost this acceptance of like, I'm probably going to need to get some advice. I might need to learn some stuff off YouTube. I might need to go to a guitar lesson. I might need to, and I'm probably going to suck at it for a while. And we accept that that's part of growth with a technical skill, like, and a very specific skill. But the soft skills or the human skills, things like learning self-worth and self-knowledge, things like learning emotional intelligence and emotional literacy, things like learning communication skills and interpersonal skills. I notice a lot of people fall into the trap of like, oh, you either have it or you don't. Kind of good at it or you're not. And
Why
I'm like, no,
why do you think that? Sorry,
I think
cut you
because
off.
it's not part of our education system. It's starting to be
Okay.
now.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
think
yeah.
part of the benefit of the education system, which I have a lot of thoughts on, but part of the benefit of it is it does give people and students a chance to go, hey, practice this and you're going to suck at it for a bit, and over time you'll get better. Like,
Yeah,
your
okay.
knowledge will improve. I don't know about you, but when I went to school, there was nothing about mindfulness or emotional intelligence or
Same.
resilience or, right? And so if we're not learning at school, then we really cross our fingers and hope that we're one of the lucky few people who have very emotionally intelligent parents at home who could teach it. I love my parents. They're fantastic. They're doing the best they can with what they had. Not remarkably high emotional intelligence, right? As we were growing up.
Yeah.
Getting better now. But so people are kind of left blind. And I think that then leads to this, we either have it or we don't. I think one of the first steps to training your brain to be happier and training yourself to live a happier life is give yourself permission to suck at happiness for a while. Right? Give yourself permission to go, I'm going to learn about this and probably not understand. I'm going to learn about it and probably stuff it up along the way. At our college that I run, BU Happiness College, we've got members and graduates in 6 countries now. Our curriculum is built around 75 distinct skills for happiness. Right? There's a lot that the evidence says ties into a happy life. I describe that to people like it's like learning a language, like learning to speak another language. You don't need to learn all 75 skills of happiness to live a happy life, just like you don't need to learn every single word in Spanish to have a conversation. But I do need you to know enough to have a base level.
Yeah.
And so our base level, we build it around 3 overarching categories. So when people first come to the college, we often say, hey, the best thing you can practice is personal happiness skills. So your own well-being skills. Learn about stress management. Learn about burnout. Learn about regulating anxiety. Learn about emotional intelligence and literacy. Because if we don't do that, it's hard to do the other skills because our mind and emotions feel so clouded. Right? If I can't ask someone to introspect and to know their values and strengths, if when they look inwards, all they feel is emotional chaos, right? And overwhelm. So we have to learn to regulate the mind and body first. That's our personal happiness skills. Then stage 2 is personal growth skills, which is more about expanding your potential. So self-actualization. This is all about goal setting, behavior change, habit building, being able to manage priorities, intention setting, knowing your strengths, knowing your values, right? Like this is more, hey, you're managing your emotions well. You're managing your own happiness better. How do we expand your potential? And then the final stage is interpersonal happiness skills, which is that self-transcendence. Hey, you've learned a lot about how to live a happy life for yourself. You're taking action towards building a happy life for yourself. How do you then use that way more intentionally in your impact that you have on others? Be it through parenting, be it through being a leader in your workplace or career, be it through, just being a good citizen and a good member of your community. How do you play your part in spreading a ripple effect to happiness? And I find when people learn those and they go, hey, I'm going to practice this imperfectly and messily and be patient with it. I'm not going to expect it to happen overnight. Some of the best research in the world says psychological, behavioral, and emotional change takes a minimum of 3 months, but those are 3 months normally in lab conditions where it's like, hey, we're going to study you for this 3 months for the behavior change. And you don't need to go to work for that 3 months. We're just going to pay you for it. It's like, I don't know about you guys. My life is not a lab condition. Or if it is, it's like a chaotic, like mad scientist laboratory. And so I say to people like, hey,
a lot of variables.
It's probably going to take, yeah. I'm like, any change that matters to you, be it change in your emotions, in your, habits, be it psychological change, it's probably realistically going to take closer to 6 months to a year to actually stick and take root. And if you go in with that expectation and acceptance, you're far less likely to get frustrated along the way and quit and give up because it's not happening quick enough. And I think particularly in this world where everything's so instantaneous,
Yes.
There's something valuable about saying, hey, I'm gonna commit myself to a pursuit for a year to try to get good at something. I'm going to practice guitar for a year to see how good I can get at it. I'm going to learn Spanish for a year. I'm going to learn about the skills and science of happiness for a year and practice them to give myself the time to actually hopefully become good.
There's so much that, as you were saying, I'm like, yeah, I see that. Like in clinical practice, like 6 to 12 months is a really solid period of time for someone to not only heal, but to have a deeper transformation and for it to stick. Because of the space and time that is needed to change neural pathways, which are all connected to everything. And then also your 3 steps were interesting as well, because when we have a client working with us, like the first thing is we've got to like take out some fires first. And sometimes that might be physical too. It's like you've got really nasty parasites in your gut that are like literally inflaming your gut, but it's also sending inflammatory signals up to the brain. So it's like, let's dial that down. And then it's like, get clear on who you want to be and your values. And I find that people will reverse in their progress if they don't move into some sort of like, how do I integrate this into my relationships? All very well to do like lovely healing work inside the solitude of your bedroom. But if you're not practicing or developing those skills to implement and embody and integrate it into the world, then it kind of starts fizzling out again.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys see this in your practice, but I find so many people come to the college and try to start immediately at step 3.
Yeah.
Like I'll do an intake session or one of our coaches will do an intake and we're like, why are you here? Like, why do you want to come study happiness at the college? And they're like, oh, I think it's going to make me a more mindful and emotionally regulated parent. Well, that's a stage 3 skill, right? That's about interpersonal happiness skills and impact on others. Or they're like, oh, I think it's going to make me a more humanistic and better leader. I've been promoted at my work and, I've never led a team before and now I want to learn how to lead people. I'm like, okay, good. That's a valid goal, but it is a stage 3 goal, right? And I think, again, a lot of people who come to the college have this desire to help others, but if it's not built on those foundations of, hey, are you managing your own happiness and well-being well? And have you expanded your potential and do you understand who you are? It becomes inherently unsustainable. It's like you're building a house on really shaky foundations. And so I'm like, look, I don't want to take that away from you. I love that you want to help others. I'm not here to say, hey, maybe we shouldn't make the goal that you're a good parent. No, let's ditch that goal. That's irrelevant. But like, hey, can we build that on top of, I also manage my own happiness really well. I feel really true to who I am. And as a byproduct, I'm a really good parent. That just leads to better. I don't know. Do you guys find that some people come to you being like, this is actually a little bit more about other people than me?
Definitely with a lot of mums. But often they'll have the profile of playing the rescuer, the people pleaser. They're burnt out, they're resentful, they're irritable, and then they're feeling guilt. And so then therefore it's like, I got to heal myself so I can be a better mum. How do I do it? And I'd say like, yeah, business owners to kind of from a point of view of like, I'm not showing up the way that I need to. So help me heal so I can do this.
But also, we can just do my healing part as quick as possible so I can help others.
Yeah.
But also the preoccupation with the outcome of I am healed or I am 100% symptom free. Like most of our clients they've got like some sort of energy, some sort of mood or gut thing going on that's not easily solved by a quick trip. Nip on down to the GP, pop a pill or have a sleep or take a rest. That like that doesn't cut it, and they get body burnout. Their body systems stop working. So that's our clientele, and so it's natural for them when they're in survival mode, like you were saying before, to want for that whole different. Grass is greener on the other side. They want this done. They want to go. And so they get preoccupied with that, don't they? Like, I need this now, but they don't focus on the stage one, the level one, themselves.
That focus too comes from a place of judgment, like in fear of judgment, which led to someone either not being happy or being burnt out in the first place. So interesting.
And that's a good point. I'm glad you brought it up, Chris, that each level also needs to be continually practiced for its own sake. Like, so when I was saying, hey, like level 1 skills at the college are managing your own emotions and mind well. Well, when you progress to level 2 skills and you're learning about goal setting and habit building and behavior change, that doesn't give you permission to stop looking after the well-being skills.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, okay, yeah, I'm at level 2. I sometimes use the analogy. I say to people, that would be equivalent to going, well, my teeth are clean, so I don't need to keep brushing them. No. Your teeth are clean because you brush them regularly. Yeah. Or if someone's like, oh, well, I feel really fit and healthy at the moment, so I don't need to exercise or eat well. No, you feel fit and healthy because you exercise and eat well. So this, like, you're able to do those level 2 or level 3 skills because you're doing the level 1 skills, right? And so we need to keep. So often I find myself reminding our members and students at the college of that, where I'm like, hey, you might have studied this and been practicing it for a while, and you're now really excited about learning about these personal growth and development skills and feeling like you're living a life of purpose and meaning and expanding your potential. But don't forget to regulate stress. Don't forget to check in on burnout. Don't forget to check in on your core well-being skills to make sure that your mind and body feel well. Because if that goes, like, that's why I love the work that you guys do. If that goes out of sync, it's so hard to do the other stuff well.
Yes.
Totes.
Yes. So good. So for listeners who are listening, people who are listening,
I'd hope they are.
it's
for
just
listeners
like on
who are
the
sleeping,
white noise background.
And even if you are listening to this while sleeping, I hope you're having lovely dreams.
Subliminal message.
We need to like wave our hands for everyone who's on mute.
You can be happy just by listening to this and sleeping at the same time. Okay, what I wanted to say was for any listeners who are struggling with chronic health issues, because I have been there in the past, and it can feel very debilitating, not just physically, mentally, emotionally, but it can impact every part of life. And they're not happy, but they would like to be, and they would like to start cultivating some of the things that you've been talking about today. What would be some first skills or steps that you would recommend starting with?
Start with any form of mindfulness that feels accessible. So sometimes people think of mindfulness and they think, okay, I need to shave my head, don a robe, and meditate under a waterfall for 3 hours a day. which if you want to, by all means. But you can be mindful in anything you do. You can eat more mindfully and be present with it. My favorite experience of mindfulness, actually, I did recently. I've been doing it for many years, but I invited my wife recently to do this with me. Whenever an artist that I really like puts out a new album, I lie on the floor of a room with the lights turned off and listen to the album start to end with my eyes closed. It's the most present and grounded I ever feel in life is that experience for 30 or 40 minutes, depending on the length of the album. So you can find ways. Mindfulness is just awareness and presence. It's aware of where we are in our surroundings and in the world and being present where we are right now. Practice that. Right? Practice just slowing down, being present where we are in any way, shape, or form. Do a mindful breath. Listen mindfully. Like, chances are you've been listening to this conversation. If you're anything like me and a lot of people that I meet, you've kind of got the podcast going while you're working, or maybe you're driving to work, or you're doing something. Like, just listen for the next minute. Right? Just be here. Give it your full attention. Not because, I've got some egomaniac in me being like, only listen to me for the next 60 seconds, but because it's genuinely good for you to be present. So practice mindfulness would be the first skill that I think is really valuable for people. The second skill is then practice expanding your emotional awareness and literacy. We cannot hope to be emotionally intelligent if we can't name our own emotions.
Yeah.
And in Australia in particular, we have a huge gap with emotional literacy. The gold standard is we should all be able to recognize, name, and distinguish between 30 distinct emotions. Now, I'm a happiness researcher. When I found out that number a few years ago, I was like, I don't even think I can do that. Right? The average in Australia amongst adults is 7 to 8.
Yeah, wow.
Right. So if you say to someone, how are you feeling at the moment? The range of vocabulary we have to describe accurately our inner world and our feelings is 7 or 8 feelings. So understandably, a lot of nuance gets lost in that. So download the feelings wheel. It's a free resource online. Literally search the feelings wheel. It's yours. Go to town.
Yeah.
And just start testing yourself to go, how am I feeling today? If I was to only capture it in 2 words, I love a 2-word check-in. If you were to capture how you feel in only 2 words right now, what are the 2 words that come to mind? Do this regularly, and eventually you'll get sick of using the same words, and it'll force you to expand your emotional literacy a little bit. Emotional awareness and literacy is the first step to emotional intelligence. So practice that one. And then the third skill I'd recommend, so mindfulness, emotional awareness and literacy. Third one, practice appreciation and gratitude far more regularly. Right? So that might mean noticing a good moment and savoring it. I find a nice challenge for myself and for others is if you notice you're in a good moment, say verbally out loud, this is a good moment. It trains your brain to notice them more and to sit in them more and not be stuck in that fight or flight survival mode. So if you're in a nice moment, be like, oh, this is a nice moment. Oh, that was a nice meal. Oh, that was, like, and just be in it for a second. The other one is retrospectively, you may have been advised before or heard of doing a gratitude journal. I resisted this for many years, even though as a researcher, I kept seeing it time and time again in journals being like, this is really good for you. And I went, not for me though.
Too easy.
Yeah, it turns out I was just being stubborn. Turns out it is actually really good for you. What I found difficult at the start was if I'd sit down and stare at a blank page and I'd go, okay, what am I grateful for today? And I'd have days where my brain went, nothing today sucked, right? And I'd really wrestle with that. So I use prompts, and the 3 prompts I use are, what is a small moment that I could feel grateful for today that I'd normally take for granted? Chances are you've had so many nice little moments in your day that you just overlook. Train your brain to find them. And so go, what was a nice little moment that I could feel grateful for? Second one, who is somebody else that I feel grateful for today? That helps with that. Happiness is inherently connected to others, right? Other people's happiness and our relationship to other people is inherently important to our own well-being. So practice appreciation towards other people more. For bonus points, tell them. Whoever you write down in your happiness journal of like, or your gratitude journal of, hey, I feel really grateful for this person. Call them, text them, let them know. It is such a beautiful and simple way to spread happiness and joy and gratitude and to make the world a better place. It saddens me that the best speeches we give about our loved ones are normally at their funeral. Like,
Yes.
don't wait for your loved ones to be dead to tell them how you feel about them, please. Like they deserve to hear it. So do that for bonus points. And then the third one is the hardest one. What is something about yourself that you're grateful for today and why? What is something that you like about yourself, a quality or a trait or something that you can genuinely be proud of? As someone who wrestled for a long time with my own self-image, my body image, my relationship with myself, that was probably the most healing practice that I ever learned about and did. So summary, 3 things to start with immediately. Some form of mindfulness. I don't care what it is. I don't care how long you do it for. Just start. Second one, expand your emotional literacy and awareness. Practice those 2-word check-ins. Expand the range of language you have to describe your inner world. And third one, be more appreciative and grateful towards yourself, towards others, and towards the little things in life, because they do add up.
I love that. I'm going to practice something right now because as you were talking, I'm like, what emotion am I feeling right now? There's a few. There's gratitude for you and for all the beautiful work that you do. And I don't know, there's like I wouldn't use the word peace, but there's a stillness in my heart. And I don't know if that is an emotion, stillness. And joy. It's not quite joy though. The way I said that, I'm like, joy. Is it joy? There's something else.
So this is, by the way,
There's a flavor underneath the joy.
Yeah, this is an exact real world example of people practicing it. This is where you'd use the feelings wheel to go, it's something near joy. So the feelings wheel is grouped into similar like cousin feelings. So I'd recommend get a feelings wheel, and there's a few different ones out there because no single wheel has every human emotion on it. And be like, hey, here's joy. What are the ones around it? And you might find you're like, that's what I was feeling in that podcast. That's the one. Right? So yeah. I love
So
that.
good. Okay, now you have a book coming out
I do.
in July. It's not out yet.
July 1st. So in Australia,
Awesome.
1st of July, overseas, 1st of August. And I think audiobook on Audible and Spotify in August as well.
Amazing. So how to be happy, stop chasing happiness, learn the 5 skills to create it instead. And I'm guessing it's going to dive deep into everything that we've talked about today.
Yeah, there's a whole chapter at the start on emotional intelligence. There's a whole chapter dedicated to introspection and knowing yourself. Like so much that we touched on. This is like the deep dive into it.
Yeah, awesome. So I'm going to pop that in the show notes so everyone can grab a copy of that book. And you've also got a free micro class, The Skills and Science of Happiness. Can you talk into a little bit about that and what's in that?
Yeah, so I tell people that it's a 35-ish minute micro class because I think I went for about 40 minutes and said I was going to do 30. Awesome. I get excited about this stuff. I love sharing it. But I wanted to put out a free microclass that just helps people lay the foundations for better understanding happiness. We spoke a bit about it today in our conversation of there's a lot of myths and misconceptions about happiness that actually block people from living a happy life. And so this is, I kind of went, if I was just put out something for free that didn't take a lot of time, that would help people much better understand what happiness actually is by the science and the research and form a much firmer foundation for them to then build their happiness skills on top of. This is what it would be. And so my team and I went and put that together as a class and went, we're just going to make this free to the world and give it out. So if you've enjoyed learning a little bit from it today, definitely jump on and learn that as well.
Awesome. I'll pop that in the show notes as well.
Awesome.
Oh, thank you so much. This has been lots of fun.
Excitingly, there's a little tease too for your listeners. I'm extra enthused by the end of this conversation about you guys are jumping over onto my podcast onto How to Be Happy as well. I'm so keen. I already know we're going to have a conversation around. I have historically and traditionally thought about burnout a lot through the lens of psychological burnout, and I'm super keen to dive into body burnout and physiological burnout. So. Awesome. Yeah, for those who can't get enough of you guys just on your show, make sure they come across and hear you on my show as well.
Have a listen to it from a different angle.
Yeah, put you guys in the hot seat. It'll be great.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. We so appreciate you. If you'd like to give us extra smiles, drop us a review and spread the love by sharing this episode.
You can also rate your own state of burnout and the root cause contributors by taking our Ending Body Burnout Assessment on our website. And if you're interested in learning about our group or one-on-one Ending Body Burnout programs, shoot us a DM via Instagram or Facebook.
Have the best day ever.